Matchmaking points aren't your typical rewards. This deserves its own billboard on the Wall Street. Today I'm going to share some of my thoughts why MMR is truly counterintuitive for many of us, and I'm going to illustrate this with a couple of real stories. Just 4 years ago, a game named Battlerite was at its peak popularity. In short, it's a hero arena brawler, which I would highly recommend to play even if you've missed the opportunity. Its matchmaking at the time was 100% transparent, meaning all the players could see very clearly how many points they lost or gained after a match. But one thing was really interesting. You see, this is a round-based game. Not only the final outcome of a game gets taken into account, did you win or lose the match, but also all the individual rounds matter. So imagine this, you queue for a ranked match and end up playing the hardest, the sweatiest, the grand final material kind of game and barely squeeze the third win by the skin of your teeth, after which you receive literally 1 matchmaking point, and that's your reward. A bit confused, but still elated from your hard-fought victory, you queue for another game. In 2 minutes, you manage to lose 3-0 in a complete beatdown. Just a disaster. And then what you see next is the fact that you've lost 48 points. I just want you to process and imagine the whole ordeal. But think about it, why the hell your standings should change if in a closely matched game you barely managed to win? That means the system did a great job providing an entertaining and balanced game for all the participants. And since both teams performed at the expected level of skill, as indicated by the amount of sweat and how close the game was, it's obvious that the ranks of either player shouldn't change by much. So they don't. That's why you get 1 point. And vice versa, winning 3-0 is an indication that in a closely matched game, you performed much better than the system expected from you. Essentially, you proved the system wrong. This is not your level, and you should be playing better opponents. That's what the system tries to communicate to you with these matchmaking points. The reason why this feels counterintuitive comes down to the fact that players view their MMR progression bar in the same light as any other progression bar. When we do something, be it a job contract or a boring quest in an MMO or a freelance project, we expect some sort of reward upon completion, something tangible, something that indicates that we've made some progress. That's the incentive to do any of that. When we put in a lot of effort into something, we expect a big reward. Barely squeezing out a win feels really hard. It feels like a lot of effort. And after that, being rewarded with a single point of matchmaking rating, therefore feels like a slap on the face. It's not something that we're used to or expect to happen, and that's why it's quite confusing. In a weird sense, gaining MMR is not a reward for winning. Neither is a punishment for losing a game, for that matter. It's a correction. That's what the matchmaking system tries to do. But to have spent a full day, a week, or a month without ever seeing any meaningful progress, let alone dropping down a couple of notches, is really discouraging. We need to see ourselves progressing. And that's one of the reasons why developers spend time and money on designing some sort of in-game currency, or experience points, or account levels, or prestige systems, or any other form of arbitrary grindy progression. These mirage systems are designed to reward players just for their time and efforts, so they get to feel like they're progressing regardless of their competitive performance or personal improvement. The point is, players confuse their matchmaking rating points with these grind-based progression points. And this is a very tough realization for most of us. The fact that you play a lot doesn't mean you should rise in rank. About 9 years ago, I bought a guitar. In a year or so, I learned a bunch of chord progressions that I personally enjoyed. I'm not talking about music theory or anything. I just memorized a bunch of build orders on the guitar, so to speak. And, well, that was it. Despite me playing quite regularly for many years, since then I haven't learned anything beyond that point. After all that time, I'm still a beginner. And why would my skill at playing the guitar improve if I haven't been working on actually improving it? Enjoying the experience of playing has very little to do with actual learning. So let's say you keep losing against some strategy over and over again. Since you clearly don't know how to deal with it, until comes the day you figure it out, you will keep losing to it. If you don't change things, things don't change. Winning in a situation where your previous version of yourself would lose, that's an improvement that your MMR will certainly reflect. That's how you add points to your personal rating. It's not grind-based. MMR is a digital reflection of that one side of you that plays the game. This is an important takeaway, and it does sound weird, but in reality we improve our MMR outside of the system that rewards us with MMR. I personally see playing as more of a performance of my current version of myself on a stage, rather than a learning process. I mean, for sure, when we play we get exposed to all these blind spots and shortcomings in our game, and you might say that this is a part of a learning process. Well, that's right, but you still have to resolve the mistakes to complete that process. Otherwise, it's no different from me playing the guitar. Your rank is like a ship's wake. It always follows the ship. And instead of trying to affect the wake, work on building a bigger ship.